Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the credo, "Burn the Jews," has resurfaced in Romania. Romanian state television has aired an anti-Semitic Christmas carol about burning Jews. The song, performed by the Der Transylvania Ensemble, was aired during the new TV station's first transmission. It featured young people praising the Holocaust and encouraged Romanians to burn the Jews. MCA Romania, a local watchdog on anti-Semitism, wrote a letter to Romanian President Traian Băsescu and to the Prime Minister of Romania, Victor Viorel Ponta, saying, "We are shocked to see that the Romanian public television, Channel 3, broadcast an anti-Semitic Christmas carol. It is outrageous that none in the audience took a stance against this anti-Semitic Christmas carol that incites to burn the Jews."
28 neo-Nazis were arrested in Sweden for violently attacking participants at a rally protesting anti-fascism. According to the Stockholm police, about 200 people organized a peaceful protest against the increasing influence of extremists in the country. Those gathered, including young children, were pummeled with Molotov cocktails, other small explosives, and bottles. 2 civilians and a police officer were hospitalized from injuries incurred during that attack. And in a related story, there is a new anti-Semitic gesture that's gaining popularity among those who hate Jews in Europe. The signal is a variation of the notorious Heil Hitler salute, and neo-Nazis have been photographed making it at the World War II Auschwitz death camp in Poland, as well as other European locations and even Jewish holy sites in Israel. Images have been captured of the extremists posing with unsuspecting Jews and IDF soldiers in Israel and at symbolic sites that are sacred to Jews, such as the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, synagogues, and Jewish cemeteries. A website and a Facebook page have been created to promote the increasingly popular anti-Semitic gesture, and the Israeli Defense Ministry is now alerting IDF soldiers and the general population to be aware of the significance of others making it in public.
An influential group of American academics has voted to boycott Israel. 2/3 of the members of the American Studies Association endorsed its National Council's call to boycott Israeli universities and colleges. The ASA released a statement saying that it voted to boycott Israel in protest of Israeli policies regarding the Palestinians. Ronald Lauder, the president of the World Jewish Congress, said this vote to boycott Israel, one of the most democratic and academically free nations on the globe, shows the anti-Semitism and moral bankruptcy of the American Studies Association. He went on to say that the Middle East is literally filled with dead bodies from the reaction of governments to the convulsions of the Arab Spring, but the ASA singles out the Jewish state, the one Middle Eastern country that shares American values.
Ancient Jewish Torah scrolls that were stolen from the 2,000-year-old Jojbar synagogue in Damascus are now being held for ransom by Islamic terrorists in Syria. The Jojbar synagogue was built on the site where the prophet Elijah is said to have anointed his successor Elisha. The holy area was desecrated by looting during the outbreak of the Syrian civil war 2.5 years ago, and now a group linked to Al-Qaeda is claiming to hold the Torah scrolls. In return for the holy texts, they are demanding the release of prisoners held in Syrian jails.
The state of Israel was pounded by a rare winter storm which engulfed the capital, Jerusalem, in snow and brought most of the country to a standstill for a week. 28,000 households were left without power, 2,000 cars were abandoned on the main road into Jerusalem, and at least 4 people died as a result of the storm. Experts estimate that there is at least 300 million shekels in damage to infrastructure in Jerusalem alone. In addition to overwhelming rescue efforts for Israeli citizens, the IDF also provided aid to Palestinians in Gaza, Judea, and Samaria. 5,000 Palestinians were evacuated from Gaza, which experienced severe flooding, and Israel transferred water pumps to the area. The Israeli army released a statement saying that Israel will do everything that is necessary to assist the civilian populations in Gaza and in Judea and Samaria, with an emphasis on providing electricity to the power plant in Gaza. The IDF said that it facilitated the transfer of 800,000 liters of diesel fuel to Gaza for transportation and another 200 tons for household gas.
Israel is mourning the loss of an Israeli soldier who was killed by a Lebanese soldier. In the latest of a series of cross-border incidents, Naval Master Sergeant Shlomi Cohen was shot at least 10 times by the Lebanese serviceman, who was apparently positioned near a post of the United Nations interim forces in Lebanon. Beirut claims that the soldier was acting on his own accord, although an Israeli army spokesman said that the incident will be investigated and that aggression against the state of Israel will not be tolerated, and that the nation maintains the right to exercise self-defense against the perpetrators of attacks against the country or its civilians. Israel has filed an official complaint with UNIFIL, and Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon said that the Lebanese government and army are being held responsible for the death of the 31-year-old naval officer. IDF soldiers returned fire at a Lebanese army post after the incident, and according to local media, one Lebanese soldier was wounded.
7 Palestinian miners were indicted on charges of willfully endangering lives on a thoroughfare, causing severe bodily harm, conspiracy to commit a felony, willfully causing damage to a vehicle, and manufacturing weapons. The Arabs attacked Jews with Molotov cocktails and stones. The Justice Ministry said that the Palestinians were motivated by a hatred of Jews and perpetrated the attacks as revenge for the deaths of Palestinian terrorists in Hebron. Their rampage caused severe injuries to a 2-year-old Israeli girl when the car in which she was riding was pummeled with rocks. The Arab suspects admitted to throwing the flaming bottles and rocks to cause injury to Jews and to cause car accidents.
The Center for European Nuclear Research has unanimously voted to accept Israel as a full member. CERN operates the Large Hadron Collider under the Swiss-French border, which serves as the world's greatest center for the study of atomic particles. Israel's Science, Technology, and Space Minister Yaakov Peri said that Israel is now the first and only country outside of Europe to be granted full membership status, and that Israeli science continues to prove that it has the power to bridge any political disagreements with Europe. Peri added that Israeli membership in the prestigious organization will now make it possible for the nation's scientists to access the most advanced infrastructure in the world.
A bill created by the Popular Party of Spain proposes to offer Spanish citizenship to Jews who can prove their Spanish heritage. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were forced to flee Spain during the Inquisition. Those who chose to remain were persecuted and were ultimately burned at the stake. Spain's neighbor Portugal passed a law in April granting automatic citizenship to the descendants of Sephardic Jews. This huge gesture comes after the Duke of Medina Sidonia formally apologized to the head of the Jewish community of Gibraltar for atrocities committed against the Jews during the Spanish Inquisition.
More than 1 million Jewish children have been killed by abortion in Israel since 1948. Israel is currently engaged in a demographic war for its very survival as a Jewish state. Imagine what a difference 1 million more Jews would have made for Israel. Friends of Efrat saves the lives of thousands of children every year by providing support to pregnant women in distress. Since 1977, Efrat has saved over 30,000 lives and is recognized as a world leader in preventing abortions. You can play a major role in Israel's survival now by helping us save Israel's unborn children.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on yet another rainy day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Ruth Haukip, a member of the B'nai Manasseh tribe. Ruth, thank you for being on the show.
It's my pleasure, Josh.
Ruth, you are from the tribe of Manasseh. You grew up in India as a Jewish person, and now you're coming back to Israel. How was it to be Jewish in India?
It was very weird, and it was sometimes you feel different, but again, sometimes you just go with the flow.
You know, you were working with the Shavei Israel organization that brought back people last year to Israel. What was it like to finally come home?
It's like a dream come true, a lifelong dream come true.
The Bible was the reason that so many people were holding to their Jewish roots. Do you see B'nai Manasseh coming back to Israel as the fulfillment of biblical prophecy?
Yes, of course it does, but I want to add something on that. The B'nai Manasseh group of people in northeast India have always believed in the living God much before the Bible was introduced into our region among our people.
It's interesting. What kind of similarities in the customs and traditions did the B'nai Manasseh share with the people of Israel even before we were reconnected?
First thing is we believe in one God, in a living God, and we have an ancestor called Manmashi, which is the biblical Menashe from the which is one of the tribes of Israel.
Recently, Shavei Israel has teamed up with the International Christian Embassy of Jerusalem to bring back the B'nai Manasseh to Israel. Just recently, last year actually, you came back on a flight sponsored by the Christian Embassy, and in this week, another flight will be coming home. Why do you think Christians are taking part in the fulfillment prophecy of the B'nai Manasseh coming back to Israel?
Well, I personally feel that the book of Isaiah clearly mentions about this, that nations will rise up in support of the nation of Israel. And also, God clearly said that He will bless Israel. He will bless the people who bless Israel, and He will curse the people who curse Israel. So I strongly believe that the Christians want to do the good side. They want to get blessed from God by helping us.
You know, recently there was a landmark legislation after years of Shavei Israel lobbying the government that said all the B'nai Manasseh now can come back to Israel. What was the response from the B'nai Manasseh community in India?
That's an interesting question. We have a weekly journal in our dialect, in Kuki and Mizo, by the Shavei Israel journal. And every week before Shabbat, we add a parasha, the weekly parasha, and we write about the politics, the Israeli politics, and all the aliyah. So when the government has finally agreed to bring another huge group of B'nai Manasseh to Israel, about 899, the people in India, the B'nai Manasseh, already knew that through the news. So everybody is so excited, and they are counting days to finally make it home to Israel.
You know, Michael Freund, who runs the Shavei Israel organization, has really been a one-man team working for a decade to bring the B'nai Manasseh home. How do the people of B'nai Manasseh see Michael Freund there?
We have a B'nai Manasseh song that has been composed in the early 1970s. So that was much before Shavei Israel was founded, or much before we came into contact with Michael Freund. The song says, "Oh, brother Judah, we do not want to be left alone forever and never make it home. So please do not harden your heart and hear our cries, and bring us back to Zion. Because the words of the prophets will be fulfilled through you." And this particular word, "Oh, brother Judah," so among all the tribes of among all the people from the tribes of Judah, we feel that it's Michael Freund who is the brother Judah that is taking us home to Zion.
So you just came here 10 months ago from living in India. Now you live in Israel in the north. How has it been for you to get involved with the Israeli culture, to see Israel? How has that experience been for you?
Personally, I feel I really haven't started to integrate into the real Israeli society, because from the day that we arrived to Israel, we were in the Shavei Israel Absorption Center for 2 months, and immediately after that we moved to Migdal HaEmek, and we settled there, and we started our Ulpan for 5 months, and that has already been completed, but we continue to do the second level of Ulpan. So once we finish that, we would start to look for a job, and slowly we will get to integrate into the Israeli society. But in general, Israel is a huge culture that is a mixture of different cultures from all over the world. So I believe that I can also add a little bit of my culture into the Israeli society as part of it.
Ruth, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I would like to say, I would like to request that we, the Bnei Menashe, are a group of 7,000 people approximately still living in India to return home to Israel. We need your help and support, and we are being taken care by the Shavei Israel organization. Now, if you go to Shavei Israel website, which is www.shavei.org, there you can read about our stories, our culture, and then you can find how you can help us. Thank you very much, and God bless from Jerusalem.
Thank you, Ruth, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
It is heartbreaking to learn that there are over 40,000 abortions in Israel every year, many of which are due to financial concerns. The Efrat organization saves the lives of thousands of Jewish children each year by providing support to pregnant women in distress. Please help us save thousands more.
This is Jerusalem, Israel's capital city. It's an ancient and modern treasure that is beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Up next, Shining Light from Israel.
A call has gone out to the world's Muslim hackers. A call to arms to attack American and Israeli websites. Welcome to cyber war, waged online in over 1 billion laptop screens.
Israel has more than 100,000 cyber attacks per day on the average in a normal day. In times of emergency, like operations in Gaza and things like this, it raises to 2 million attacks per day.
Fighting this threat head-on, Israel recently hosted the International Cybersecurity Conference at Tel Aviv University.
Well, Israel has always been among the 2 or 3 countries in the world that were leaders in cybersecurity. And if you look at the startup companies in Israel that invent new cybersecurity applications, little Israel is as competitive as any nation in the world.
The threat of cyber warfare is so dangerous because it is invisible. A hacker can infiltrate the computer systems of governments and citizens from the safety of his own home, an anonymous internet cafe, or even a smartphone.
Anytime you go to Starbucks, in the 30 seconds you buy your coffee, a hacker can steal your LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, hack your phone, and from there the risk is endless.
Academics, army officials, and professional hackers from around the world are working together to develop the best mode of counterattack. 2 years ago, the Israeli Prime Minister set up a national cyber bureau to protect Israel's computer systems. More recently, the Israeli Secret Service launched its own cyber attack against Iran's nuclear program.
We live in a very hostile environment, and we don't have any other real asset than our people. And cyber warfare is really a product of the mind, of the brain.
Startups like Zimperium are leading the pack.
Today it's so easy to hack an organization or individual. This is why we are here. This is why we're trying to change the world. My protection is going to immediately detect the attack and just disconnect me from this malicious Wi-Fi.
In an age where hackers can bring down governments with a few clicks of a mouse, it might seem tempting to return to pen and paper. But Israel's cyber innovations remind us that we don't need to forego technology. Our smartphones are smart, but we can be smarter.
Anywhere else, this would be a vacation by a lake. But this is the Sea of Galilee. The wonders of Israel are beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Christmas in Jerusalem. What a privilege to celebrate this great feast here in the city of Jerusalem, not far away, where all the incidents took place regarding the birth of Jesus 2,000 years ago. I very well remember the Christmas celebration a number of years ago when the municipality of Jerusalem invited the Christian Embassy to carry out a carol singing on the square in front of the municipal building, the Town Hall of Jerusalem. And as we were singing those Christmas carols there in Jerusalem, I remember that particular song, the first Noel it was called, where it says in the refrain, "Born is the King of Israel." And suddenly it dawned to me how much the birth of Jesus Christ has to do with the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. If you look in the Gospel of Luke, that there in the Gospel, the arrival of Jesus Christ, the birth of Christ, is very strongly tied with the promises which God made to the fathers in the Old Covenant, in the Old Testament. If you read Luke chapter 1, the arrival of this child will be to help his servant in verse 54 in remembrance of his mercy as he has spoken to our fathers, to Abraham and to his seed forever. That means Jesus remembered, and God in heaven, they remembered the promises which they have done, which they have given to Abraham. That God would use the Jewish people to be a blessing for all the nations. That out of Israel, God's blessing would spread to all the Gentile nations around the world. And the arrival of Jesus was a remembrance of this promise which God gave to Israel. And the same we read also from Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist. As this child was being born, the Bible tells us the Spirit of God came so powerfully upon him that he started to prophesy. And here part of his prophecy we read in verse 72 that the arrival of both John the Baptist and the arrival of this Messiah child would be in order to perform the mercies promised to the fathers and to remember the holy covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham. That means the arrival of Jesus Christ actually is squarely related with the covenant which God made with Abraham. And now listen very carefully. What this means to us is that the birth of Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago, and this we should remember during this Christmas celebration, actually is an affirmation of the great calling which God placed upon the Jewish people. He said to them in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, in the very beginning of the nation when they were being established, he said, out of you, out of your seed, I will bring forth a blessing for all the families of this world. And this is exactly what Paul says also in Romans chapter 15, verse 8. He says that Jesus became a servant of the circumcision in order to affirm all the promises which God made to the fathers. That means, again, what Paul says, that the arrival of Jesus Christ on this earth 2,000 years ago, at Christmas, here in Jerusalem, in Bethlehem, it was an affirmation of God's calling of the Jewish people, an affirmation of all the promises which God made to Israel. If you read in the second book of Corinthians, chapter 2, Paul encourages us. He says that all the promises in Christ Jesus, in Him, they are yes, and they are also amen. That means He will do it. And with this, I want to encourage you during this Christmas season. Whatever the Lord promised to your life, look at the Jewish people. You will see all His faithfulness portrayed in their national re-establishment today in Israel. And you can be assured that in the very same way, God also is faithful to all the promises which He gave to your life. God will be faithful to perform them. And that's what the Christmas story is all about, that God is a covenant-keeping God. He's a covenant-keeping God with Israel. He's a covenant-keeping God with the nations. And He also will keep every single promise which God made to your life. May the Lord bless you out of Jerusalem. And let me wish you and your whole family here from Jerusalem a very blessed Christmas season. And may the Lord prosper you tremendously in the year 2014. May the Lord bless you out of Zion. God bless you.
Those who dreamed about the Jewish state, those who wrought the historical miracle and against all odds established a state, those who arrived in the homeland to their new home, those who propelled Israel forward step after step.
I have no doubt that this expanded partnership with our many Christian supporters will greatly strengthen Israel in the years ahead. And I want to thank you all for being part of that historic effort and that historic partnership. May God bless all of Israel's friends throughout the world. May God bless you.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.